Hi, welcome back to the episode of the FRC Robotics 101. My name is Dang. I'm back at it again today at the very end of the build season. Having designed the robots, having tested it with prototypes and manufactured all of these parts, we have finally reached one of the biggest steps of the construction plan, which is also the most rewarding one, and which is the final product construction. And in today's episode, I will show you how to build one of these bad boys in a convenient and efficient way, and how to organize your team in this process. This session of the construction plan will require the cooperation of all members of the technical teams. But most important of all is obviously the mechanical team. During this time, the mech team is going to be really busy since they are in charge of building the robot itself, and they have to test everything all over again, and also finalizing the mock environments for the drivers to test our robots on. So let's jump right into the building of the robots. Starting with all the manufactured parts, you should start putting together individual parts of the robot first. And this process can be sped up by dividing your team into many different groups. And each group contains of about 2 to 3 people. And each group will only take care of one mechanism at a time. For example, the FRC 2020 game task will require a lot of different mechanisms. Then we can divide your team into about 4 to 5 groups. The first group will take care of the drive base. The next group will take care of the shooter. Next one take care of the storage. And the last few will take care of the climber and also the wheel spinner. Of course, if your team is running short on human resources, you can cut short on the number of members in one group. For example, only 1 to 2 people in a group, and you can only make 2 to 3 groups to take care of different mechanisms. Putting all the number of members in a group aside, you should build your robot in a feasible order. So you should start to put together the drive base first. After that, ask the electronics and the programmers to test this drive base right away to make sure that it is controllable. And for the mechanical side, make sure that the wheels are lubricated and the chains or the belts are nicely tensioned. Next up, start putting together the rest of the mechanisms. Start with the mechanism that needs more testing first, of course, to leave more work for the programmers and the electrical side. In this process, of course, follow the CADs precisely. Keep all the measurements, all the numbers, keep them in mind and keep them, of course, in paper, and follow them step by step carefully. And so the bot doesn't go on problems because of offsets or fails or something like that. Before putting everything together, the programming team and the electrical team should get their hands on wiring and testing of each individual mechanism to make sure that each of them works smoothly before putting them to make them work well together. After all of this, of course, you will move on to put the robots together. Similar to the order before, start with the drive base first and then build everything up from there. After putting the drive base on, you should take care of the storage first, because the storage mechanism is usually the mechanism that it is integrated into the drive base, and the rest of the mechanism, like the shooter or the wheel spinner, is usually regarded as individual mechanism, so they can be put on the robots in later process. And when building the robot itself, make sure and keep this in mind that every part of a robot should be fixed together, of course, except moving parts, because you don't want to have a wobbly part hanging desperately on your robots while you are driving very fast on the game field. This is against the game rule. Speaking of the game rule, there is a very important game rule to keep in mind is to keep every part inside of the drive base perimeter. This should be taken into consideration in the CAD process, but in the mechanical sides and the final product construction, there might be different offsets. So you should take care of this and cut off the offsets and make sure that the game rule is not violated. After your bad boy is finally well constructed and all of the members of the mechanical team have made sure that the robot is put together and all the fixed parts is well fixed and durable enough for the game itself, the programmers and the electrical teams will get their hands on putting together the brain of the robots and teach it to drive around and functionalize like what we hope it will do in the game itself. Unfortunately, while the electrical team and the programmers teams will teach the robot to drive, the mechanical team doesn't get any rest because they will get their hands on doing a very important part. If we forget this, we will be very likely to be removed from the game, which is the bumper rule. Now, the bumper is basically a protection gear around the robot itself to not only protect your own robot, but protect the game field and protect other teams' robot too. The bumper is made from 2 pool noodles. This material is usually new to new members, but this is very widely used and in recent years, it has become the official material for the bumper making, which is the pool noodles. The bumper is very simple. It only consists of 2 pool noodles put together on another side, usually 2 centimeter thick wood and usually plywood. And around all of them will be fabric. The usually used fabric will be recommended in the game manual itself, but the most important thing about the fabric is it has to be in 2 colors, which is red and blue, standing for the 2 alliances on the game. And 2 versions of your bumper must be made available on the game. But for newer teams and starting teams, they usually don't have enough material or the budget to make almost 2 versions and have them shipped it over the world or bring them to the game field. So we can use a very interesting mechanism for this bumper, which is the color changing bumper, which basically just a 2-sided fabric. One side is the red and the other one is the blue one. And they have like a flank outside, and if you flip them up, it's blue, and if you flip it down, it's red. It is a very interesting mechanism to implement on your little robot. And another thing about the bumper, in the game, your bumper should be able to be removed from your robot in around 5 minutes only. So you should make your bumper fit your robot well and It can be removed from the robot in between of the games quickly enough. So just make sure that your bumper fits. Choose the bumper that fits your robot the most. And the rest, just test your robot well. In the next episode, we will cover the importance of the drive theme, which is a very crucial part of the winning of almost every single team in the FRC itself. So good luck on building your bad boy, and we will see you next time.